Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Stephanie Dahl from Dahl Fisher, and as you know, we are a small law firm. We specialize in estate planning, business law, and criminal defense. And we are talking to different business owners right now during this whole COVID-19 crisis that's happening, and trying to figure out what's going on, how are they dealing with it, and trying to bring you the best information possible so you guys can survive and even thrive in this. So today I am super excited to have Vanessa. Vanessa Shaw is actually Kelly and my business coach. She is absolutely wonderful, and we have and still enjoy working with her so much. So Vanessa, tell us a little bit about yourself. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you. I say it's fun, right? We're kind of turning things. I normally am the one asking the questions, and I get to be on the receiving end today. So it's so exciting. So yeah, as you know, you've been a client of ours now for several years. I'm the CEO of the Business Growth Academy, and our kind of clients that we work are typically, they've already got a proven concept of business, kind of low six figures, wanting to scale up into a multi six figure, seven-figure business. So we work with a lot of service-based professionals, attorneys like yourselves, CPAs, bookkeepers, marketeers. We've got so many different businesses on the books right now. We've got a kind of a broad variety. We've got speech therapy clinics, we've got home cleaning services, we've got people that are doing shelving units, financial people. But what unites all of those clients is their desire to grow. And their desire to build a business that, really serves themselves and their communities. So, they're really looking to have that balance between, family life and the things that they want to enjoy out of life, as well as have a successful business.
Absolutely. So obviously, I think about mid-March, really, I think the extreme impacts of COVID-19 started hitting everybody. How has it affected your own business? And then working with your clients, how has it affected the clients that you're working with?
Yeah, gosh, we could just spend a whole hour on this alone. In fact, I think Dana, our lead coach, and we kind of unpacked some of the coaching conversations that we've been having since that time. So, of course, none of us knew really what this meant. I think we all went through that, the kind of the denial. Is this happening? Is this really going to happen to us? Are we closing down? It was just a wild, wild time. We were actually kicking off a brand new program. Our elite, kind of our second cohort, was kicking off on the day that everything went crazy in America, or certainly in kind of my part of America. And I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, what the heck does this mean? Is there going to be massive fallout? We are also, we're about business growth, right? So business growth when economies are collapsing or potentially going crazy and people are being shut down and they can no longer go into their work. I was just kind of how the heck is this going to work in this experience? And I really honestly didn't know, Steph. And, even for me, I'm going to be super transparent. I kind of kicked off that second cohort, and I probably got off that call and kind of went, wow. Okay, everyone kind of was there and present and kind of eager to learn. So let's talk about it from our business standpoint, and then the businesses that we work with, because the reality is we work with a lot of different businesses right now as well. We've got probably the broadest range of business owners on our books right now that we've had in a long time, and everybody's been affected very differently. So in terms of our own business, interestingly enough, we had changed up, as you know, you've been part of kind of our trajectory and growth and changing things up. We had actually made some pretty significant changes to our own business at the end of last year, which meant that we were moving away from a model that we had previously, which was all about lots of live events and workshops and a lot of kind of in-person interaction, to moving to more of a kind of not digital model, but it's kind of an online kind of hybrid model, where we were just saying we're a little bit done right now with the workshops and we want to find a different way, because we were finding we're just getting drained by it. And we were very fortunate, that really and truly COVID forced us to test that model, because we couldn't have done the workshops had we wanted to. Fortunately, we didn't have any under contract because we'd already decided we weren't doing that. So in a way, for us, it was a real blessing to kind of go, well, you can't carry on building the business that you previously done. Now you're actually forced to test this new model. And then in terms of really some of the approaches that we like quickly seized upon was, okay, the way that we've got to support our clients right now is going to look different. Inevitably, there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of uncertainty, there's just a lot of stress. And my, you know, really my strategic move, if you want to call it that, was we are doubling down on the clients that we've currently got. I'm not going to worry about growth and filling other programs. It's like there's plenty to be done with kind of what we've got right now. And I remember announcing that to the team, like this is a doubling down with all the people that we're so grateful to work with right now because they need our help more than ever. And we opened up calendars. We've, you know, Steph, I don't have the exact stats, but we have definitely probably done, you know, double the amount of coaching sessions with our clients in this period.
Well, and I would say, yeah, I mean, I know that, you know, you guys have done a remarkable job of truly just being accessible. Yourself, Dana, Robert, Susie, just in anything that we need, because I think, as you mentioned, these are such unprecedented times. And I think had you asked me 2 months ago, what do you think you're going to need right now? The list I would have given you is actually nothing that I actually need right now,
right?
Because it's so different. And so I feel like a lot of what you guys have been doing in terms of supporting your clients is really, and it's the biggest fear for all business owners right now, is I need to fill that pipeline. I need to get people in the door because we still have bills to pay. We still have employees to support. So how do I do that? And I feel like as we've walked through this, really, and as you said, you have just this wide variety of businesses, but I feel like, you know, sitting in these virtual rooms, I'm sitting next to the mobile pet grooming, and the information you're giving us is applicable to both, and how we can reach our clients and what we can do. And it's so applicable, and how to really fill that pipeline, which is so key right now. We can talk about a lot of other stuff, but that is so important for all of us right now, because it's that difference of surviving to thriving.
Totally. And I think that's why we sort of said, like, we've got to double down. We knew that there was a lot of fear that, you know, and again, it's not to sugarcoat it, right? Some people will kind of like, you know, I think you'd even share with me, oh my gosh, like this is an opportunity. And then you kind of go, oh my gosh, did I really think that, you know, it's like the emotions, it's like this massive roller coaster. You know, there's been lots of tears. There's been lots of, you know, oh my God, like really what's happening? Like, is this it? Am I going out of business? So emotionally, everybody has been, you know, very kind of all over the place. So we've been helping our clients really navigate that. It's kind of like the personal work that I love to do. It's like, let's get everybody in a more just grounded, calmer place so that we can actually think more creatively. And then, as you say as well, it's also been the like, okay, this is, you know, the messages of like, this is temporary. We don't know how much time this is going to be going over. However, if we start to kind of shut down completely now and think that we've got this extended spring break, which some people kind of have gone into that mentality, and, you know, don't judge it as, but again, not necessarily the best mindset to have a business, because as you rightfully said, pipelines need to be filled. Like, we still need to keep things going. We still need to be building relationships, nurturing, like looking after our existing clients, looking to, you know, how can we set things up when things rebound, right? Or again, some people are still able to work, like yourselves, right? You kind of, you know, is moving into the virtual world, right? Might not be the volume that you've wanted. You know, that's the same for a lot of businesses right now. They haven't got the amount that they would have normally had, but they're still operating. So there's just been a lot of shifts there that have been, I think, really important to navigate with our clients.
Well, and I, you know, as a client, obviously, and I know Kelly and I've had these conversations, that I've just really appreciated, you know, one of, you know, as you said earlier in the conversation, you said, how do we best serve our clients? And that message, I think, really came across to your clients, because it helped for Kelly and I to sit down and say, okay, now how do we best serve our clients right now? How can we best, because we're a support for our clients, just like you're a support for us. And so really to sit down and be like, how do we best serve them? What can we do to help them through this time? And different things like that. So it was a really good kind of that message that came from you that passed to us that we can give to our clients, and hopefully they pass on to people who are in their world as well.
Right, absolutely. It's that ripple effect. And I mean, again, so kind of from our business perspective, then I'll get into, as you say, like, how's it affected some of the clients? So that was our doubling down on existing clients was a strategy. And I have to say, it's something I'm not going to regret, right? I'm really glad, like, that I was crystal clear from the beginning, like, this is what we're doing. Inevitably, it was the best thing to do, because we've got clients as well that are getting phenomenal results. You know, we had somebody that just announced yesterday, as you know, in the program with you, like, she just, you know, basically hit her first 70K month. You know, we've had people that have sold over, you know, generated, new revenues of almost $200,000 kind of since the beginning of this, you know, on their own, as like very, very micro businesses, when previously they were barely doing that in a year. So there's, you know, we've got some really great results. And for those people that aren't able to kind of do the volume that they'd want to be doing right now, because they are literally in shutdown and they've had to really do a lot of rethinking, what we're also hearing is that those business owners are actually excited about what the future looks like, because they've said, we've been able to step back. Like, we've realized that there were things that we were doing that frankly weren't working, or we were tolerating them. That's my favorite question. And it's really helped us to reevaluate some of those things. And now we know that we're going back into business in a very different way. And I think the other thing that I, you know, again, kind of as a strategic decision with Susie and Dana, we wanted to look at, you know, yeah, our clients invest also a lot to work with us. And I'm not just talking about, yes, of course, there's the financial component, but there's the time, there's the energy, right? You know, we're doing real work here together. As you know, it doesn't all just happen like that. And equally so, through COVID, there were just things that were outside of everybody's control that have meant that goals couldn't necessarily be achieved. And so again, one of the things we looked at was, we are so grateful, you know, and appreciative of the clients that we have and the long-term relationships. So given this, what can we do as a business to kind of pay it forwards? And as you know, with some of those longer term programs, we kind of went, well, you know what, we're going to extend like our contracts with our clients. You know, we're kind of adding 4 months on and new programs in there to say, like, this wasn't your fault, this wasn't our fault, but like, we're in it together. Help us. We want to partner with you to still be achieving the goals, not to kind of turn around 12 months from now and go, well, you didn't achieve your goals and COVID was, you know, happens.
Right.
And I think that's the thing. It's like, you know, like, how can we just be a little bit more creative so that it, you know, it kind of all makes sense and there's just some really goodwill in the system.
Absolutely. And I know I've heard you share about this, and we've kind of talked a little bit about it, but that business owners right now are kind of falling into those 3 different categories. Can you explain what those are and kind of elaborate on those?
Yeah. So I'll say ours are only falling into 2. Fortunately, because we work with them. So yeah, I think, you know, and again, it's shifting the whole time, Stephanie, right? Whenever people listen to this, I mean, let's face it, you know, the landscape is shifting again right this week. So anything I say today doesn't necessarily apply for tomorrow. But I think first, you know, we're hearing a lot about hunkering down. We just got to hunker down. We've got to wait this thing out. I realized, frankly, that, you know, some of my people that, you know, provide services with me, I kind of realized, yeah, actually, I've been on the receiving end of that hunkering down. I give an example of that. A quick one is, you know, you kind of disappeared. You know, you're a service provider in my life, like my hair salon. I go and get it done regularly. It costs me a lot of money at my age as well. And I've been a loyal client for about, you know, 8 years now. And I've never heard from them. Not once. It's like they were shut down and they disappeared. Whereas, you know, that's for me is a hunkering down that's not necessarily helpful, because there's an expectation there that, well, I'm just going to walk back through the door and be happy. But like, what happened to just perhaps even a little phone call that said, hey, you know, obviously we are shut down right now, but how are you and your family doing? Just want to check in and see that you're all okay. And Absolutely. By the way, do you need any tips on touching up your roots? Anyway.
Right. And I heard somebody say the other day about, you know, really in this time, your communication needs to be upped with everybody. They need to hear from you. They need to know you still exist, because you still want to, when your hair salon opens, you want to go back, right? You want those clients back.
Totally. And I think that's the thing, that hunkering down is kind of like, remember, there are people that you want and need for your business once all this crazy stuff is over, right? But this is going to give those people a chance to reevaluate Perhaps you haven't got the bonds with them. Perhaps they are reevaluating their finances. A lot of people will have been. And if you haven't got that strong relationship and adding value, perhaps this is the point where all of a sudden you get cut and they move somewhere else. So I think hunkering down is definitely the first one. The second one, which I think a lot of people will fall into, totally normal, is hesitant. You know, that whole, I want to move forward. We've seen a lot of that even in our, you know, in our community, kind of, I want to move forward, but then there's this whole, oh, but is it wrong? I feel guilty. Other people are not doing business. Should I? Is it wrong to be making offers? Is it wrong to be selling when so many people are struggling? We've certainly had lots of conversations around just the, and again, this is why I'm so proud, and like our just amazing business owners. I kind of go to bed at night like the mama bear that's just so proud of like her kids, because the kind of people that we work with are sensitive, right? They want to do good in the world. They consider how they show up in the world, and they just don't dive into things just kind of blindly. And, you know, we've had a lot of conversations around the sensitivity, as you say, of communication, like the hesitancy of, I really do want to reach out, and I'm very concerned about how to do it in a way that feels sincere and, you know, not get into anything that might be construed as salesy or that I've got an agenda. So I think that hesitancy, and hey, I've certainly, you know, certainly danced inside of that a lot during COVID, you know, how to help people, kind of like, what are the main messages that we want to be putting out right now? And just hesitancy. I think the other thing around that hesitancy as well is that there's also a lot of criticism. Unfortunately, kind of slightly off topic, but I was sharing this with my girlfriend on the hike this morning, is I'm kind of a little bit concerned that the whole COVID thing is going to, you know, not necessarily improve people's communication. I think people are going to get more opinionated, more judgy, more critical. We're already seeing it. We're seeing it a lot on social media, you know. And so there's also that, I think, that creates hesitancy for those of us that are business leaders and trying to, you know, be more vocal and visible in the marketplace. Is there's a hesitancy of, oh my gosh, you know, will I be on the receiving end of, you know, a lot of negativity, which is valid because it exists.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. And I think that, you know, as a business owner, it's really that fine line of, I want to provide a service. I want to be helpful. I don't want to appear that I'm taking advantage of any sort of situation. And it is a fear of that criticism coming from people when you're like, we're trying to help. Like, the world is still existing. And I think that that's where everyone's kind of in this weird place of like, I know we're on shelter in place in some places and safer at home, depending on where everybody is in the country. But at the end of the day, we all still are living. It's just a different type of living than we were used to. And so we still have to put one foot in front of the other and keep moving forward. And so I think everyone's trying to adjust to that.
Yeah, totally. And as I say, so the hesitancy one, I totally get. And then the third category, which I think has been really, really helpful in our community, where people have kind of gone, oh, okay, now I get it. Now that gives me kind of a framework to operate in, is, you know, we keep saying about, we talk so much, as you know, about ideal clients, and we call them champagne clients in our business, but we've been using a lot of the language around, and frankly, it came from like finding H's so that people could remember the three categories, right? Hesitant, hunkering down, hesitant, and what's my next H? And it was about, who do you want to be a heroine to or a hero to through this time? Because you can't serve everyone. I mean, that's the core philosophy with our ideal clients anyway. You can't be a hero or a heroine to everybody, but there is somebody that you can really, really do great work with. Make a shift, make that, you know, have that positive impact where they'll really respect you, kind of partner with you as well, and make a difference. And I know that question, again, we've seen some of this in our community. You know, actually one of our other attorneys, she's also a business attorney, she literally had a big aha on one of our calls when I said that. And she was like, this has just freed up so much kind of clutter in my mind. And she's really, really clear on who she's helping. And as a result is just putting out phenomenal content. By the way, she's another one that's just had like her best start of the year yet. You know, she's significantly ahead of where she was last year. But again, that was a question for her, which kind of got her really focused on, okay, I acknowledge the hesitancy here. She definitely wasn't hunkering down, but who am I going to be a heroine to? Okay, got it. I'm off.
Absolutely. Well, and I think one of the things that I absolutely love about the community that you create with all of the business owners is, when she has that best month, everybody is there going, good job, way to go. That is amazing. Keep doing it. And I think especially in this time when you're almost scared to be happy for something, and you're hesitant to say, hey, I had the best month ever, or whatever it is, it's this community to say, keep going. You're doing it right. You're doing a great job. And so I think that it can help you to stay in that kind of heroine place of like, okay, or hero place of like, I got this. I'm doing right. I'm doing what I should be doing, and I'm helping the right people.
Yeah, totally. And it's important, right? And of course you want to be sensitive, but again, in our community, we know like we're real, like we talk about the good, the bad and the ugly, like we're not hiding behind anything. But it's so important to celebrate the wins right now. And the wins aren't necessarily, and they've never needed to always be monetary, right? That's one, yes, a significant metric in business. However, as you know, Steph, we celebrate other wins, time off, free time, new creative projects. You say our pet groomers who were, and that's a really interesting one. We sort of talk about, how this has impacted the business owners that we work with. We've got some business owners that just like gone like this, again, our financial gals, I call them, because we've just got a whole group of women that help with finances, whether it's coaching, CPA services, bookkeeping, CFO. They haven't barely been able to keep up because people have wanted to, look at their finances for our financial coaches, but think about, the tax deadlines that was one of the first changes, right? And nobody knew even what it meant. Did it mean you still had to file, or did you have 3 months, right? There was that whole, we were like, whoa, what does this mean?
Yeah.
Right? That was kind of one of our first freakouts. And I remember, kind of jokingly to our financial girls saying, well, I guess this is giving you some breathing room. They're like, oh, you should hear the phone calls we're getting. I was like, oh, oops.
Yeah.
There's now so much confusion. And then the next wave of people like us, business owners needing guidance to navigate the emergency loans, the PPP, the funding, and all the rest of it, right? Again, these were conversations that 2 months ago would have never, ever, ever thought we'd be having. So you've had them just like completely working around the clock, as we've had something like our mobile pet groomers who, in all honesty, they fell into a grey area, and we went backwards and forwards multiple times with them to kind of go like, we're trying to interpret these essential business and not. And my interpretation of it was different to somebody else's. And we just had to come to a place of like, what's going to help you feel you're doing the right thing at the end of the day? Like, these things are kind of open to interpretation. We did even go as far as trying to get clarity from the governor's office, which we were, of course, just referred back to.
Right.
Just read it and like, well, that's why we're asking the question. But anyway, again, that's an example of, a business that they chose to do. For them, it was important to do the right thing to support the business, to support the community and kind of everything else that was going on. And that felt really, really true for them. So they were completely in shutdown, no income, like that from one day to the next. Yet, they were able to use that to kind of ramp up systems and like look at some of those projects that were on back burners and really evaluate some of those things. And Chris, as you probably know, because I think you're in a similar cohort with him, the new creative thing that he has actually wanted to do now for probably about a year, when we first had the conversation, he's been able to do it and be making sales. It's, so it's like, there's this whole new revenue stream that is totally doable in COVID that has now opened up. So I think it's just so interesting to kind of, look at the spectrum of things. And as you've worked with me for long enough, I always come from the mindset of, we might not be able to see it right now. There is a gift, there's an opportunity or multiple opportunities here. Like, let's start thinking through that lens of the opportunities, because now it gets us moves us away from so much fear-based thinking into more creative thinking, kind of really starting to think outside the box.
Well, and you're right. And that creative thinking is where all those ideas and all those like, oh, I could do this so in such a more simple way, or I've been wanting to do that, and now that I have the time, I can work on it. So absolutely, I think that creativity is kind of coming to play for all of us right now, of like, I never thought I'd be doing all of my intakes on Zoom, but here we go. Let's figure out how we do this and it'll be good. So what are some of your top recommendations for helping business owners navigate during crisis?
Yeah, so I think, you really alluded to it in the first place, especially with the market that we work with. Perhaps this isn't so important with bigger businesses, but the reality is kind of we work with the, 100K to, 5 million kind of, that's really our bracket. So we're very much micro, small business. And I think the biggest challenge, which is COVID will have been, enhanced this even more, is pipeline, right? And it's that foundational piece of business that really and truly every business owner needs to be focused on. It's like, if you are not filling your pipeline, this is oxygen to the business. Everything else is really irrelevant until we've got that kind of dialed in. And then we can start to think about all of these other things. So for us, a lot of our, especially as in Elite, and again, it was kind of coincidence that I didn't know that COVID was happening, but our new Elite program was actually very focused on kind of personal well-being and actually putting yourself as the business leader first and kind of taking care of some of those things so that you're strong and not burning out. But then it was very much the focus into pipeline and revenue and dialing in who your ideal clients are. And now, again, I think we've seen that with our clients. People show their true colors, Steph, under stress, as you know, right? That, we sometimes see aspects of ourselves that we kind of don't like as well. But we've had quite a few stories of clients getting kind of nasty with some of our business owners, because demanding things and getting entitled, and they're thinking that they're the special one and they've got to have the exception. And so for us, I know for our business owners, it's really clarified who their ideal clients are. And we've had business owners firing clients during COVID, and again, it can feel counterintuitive, like, no, I'm not tolerating this right now. So I think that whole, a few of the things are kind of like the fundamentals I think everybody should always know, but where we've really put an emphasis on it is the really know your numbers. Like for anybody right now, looking at their numbers, looking at profit and loss, looking at, where are they being inefficient, right, in their business model. I mean, that's something we do with you guys, call it profit maximizer, but it really is about kind of knowing those numbers. Right now, people, if they haven't already, should definitely be looking at things that are costs, not investments, unnecessary expenses, because we were in a very fat economy before this, right? And I know I get kind of a bit blasé. Oh, it's $9.99 a month here, there, and everywhere. And some of those things need to be trimmed back. So I think the kind of knowing your numbers, and then from a financial perspective, like, do the numbers add up for the amount you want to be paying yourself, the amount of profit, the amount of clients you can feasibly work with. Right now is a great time to dive into that stuff. The second thing then is, yes, filling your pipeline, right? So who is your ideal client? What are you offering? Like, what is that offer and your unique solution? And obviously, what is your pricing? And I think that I just want to quickly speak to that, because one thing that's been interesting is so many people have thought, in COVID, oh my gosh, we have to slash our prices, right? And it's like, no, not necessarily. The majority of our clients haven't. Like, the large majority haven't. And if anything, we've had people raising their prices, because they've looked at ideal clients and really dived into, what their services are. And they're kind of like, wow, I'm realizing that, I actually should be charging a lot more for this. So I think that whole piece around kind of understanding, those are the pieces we have to understand in order to even fill the pipeline, right? It's kind of like that core offer and who it's for. And then, as you say, the third part of that is the mechanics of, well, how do you fill the pipeline?
Right? Yeah.
Okay, kind of get that concept, but like, what does that look like in practice? And one of the things, we've gone back to kind of basics, and I'd say COVID has just helped, I think, with this message of relationships, building relationships, reaching out to people. And we've, really promoted direct outreach as an approach, not just, slapping up blog articles or putting things all over social media and kind of, hoping and praying that we get clients. We've really got a much more proactive approach to outreach that is not cold calling. It doesn't involve, like complicated funnels or expensive ads or any of that stuff. It's stuff that frankly anybody can learn and do. Does it take effort? Yes, of course it does. Does building a business take effort? Yes, and work. Yeah, right. It's not a magic pill, but the truth is, it's simple. And as I say, and it works. So I think those are some of those things we've always got to think about, what's the best medium for really, connecting with those ideal clients. And right now, the best medium is going to be picking up the phone. It's, speaking to referral partners, especially like with our attorneys and our professional services. That's always been a really good track. And again, now, right, we've got things, we've got emails, we've got, social media, because we can't go out, right, and network and attend seminars or do some of those other things. I had a lot of speaking gigs and seminars and things that were on the books, sponsorships, they all came to a massive standstill. So we have to find another way.
Absolutely. Well, and I think kind of as with those three pieces, when you look at them, if you're a business owner and you're sitting there going, my months kind of do this, right? Up and down, up and down, up and down. A lot of that has to do with, because if you know your numbers and you're filling your pipeline and you look at how do you fill your pipeline, and that's also a tracking piece, right? It's not just, oh, I'm filling my pipeline. It's how many emails am I sending out? How many people am I contacting every day? All of those things, because when you look at it, and we've done this process with you, is that I can always tell if our numbers go lower, it's because we let off the gas for a minute. And It takes a minute. It's not, well, maybe I took a day off tomorrow and then Monday's going to be slow. That's not the case. Everybody's cycle is different in terms of their, when people come in, but there's 60, 90, 120 days where all of a sudden you feel the effects way down. And so if you're a business owner that feels that way, this is a great time to sit down, look at those numbers, figure out how to fill the pipeline and start filling it so that you don't have those ebbs and flows in business that are so stressful to business owners.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, these are really, really simple concepts, deceptively simple, I think, at times, right? Because people want to overcomplicate, and it's kind of like, well, the techie Facebook funnels and this and that's kind of like shiny. And of course, there's always the promise, right? And it's not that these things don't work; they do work. Right, at a certain point in business as well, with certain budgets attached to them as well. But again, it's kind of that shiny, looks like shiny because it's going to look easier, right? Or when I figured it out, perhaps I'll feel good about myself because it's kind of complicated and techy. Versus what we're proposing here, which is a very simple concept that requires effort. It definitely requires moving outside your comfort zone, like most things that are good. Karen, she was a great example. She committed last week to, we did a kind of like a little mini boot camp for people that just wanted to even do those reach outs with us, where basically we just get on Zoom and say, how many are we doing in the next 30 minutes? We close down our videos and report back in. I mean, it was as simple as that. And Karen was like, oh my gosh, she's been pretty crushing it in terms of like reaching out, but she was like, I'm taking it to the next level. I mean, she's closing business all over the place. And she said, it's all I have to do is 30 minutes a day of this. And it's like, that's it. Yep. It doesn't even have to be hours and hours and hours.
Exactly. Absolutely. I think sometimes we in our mind make it bigger than it is. And 30 minutes a day can make a huge impact on what we're doing.
Totally. Yeah.
So then I'm curious, kind of as we talk through all of this, what choices will you Vanessa personally be making that have come about as from COVID-19, like things that you're like, oh, maybe I'm going to change that. I didn't know I would do that, but now that we're in this situation, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, so I love that question. And I kind of, I think, again, it's really evolving, and again, that's going to be an evolving question. But certainly there's a couple of kind of just fun things on the personal side where you know, Robert and I used to eat out and socialize so much. I mean, like a scary amount. I hate to think what our budget or lack of budget probably was for eating out and everything. And that's something I just don't think we'll ever go back to the amount that we were. And not because of fear of going into public places, more because I just reconnected with my joy of home cooking. My very first business was actually a catering service where I did the cooking and the delivering and did it all. And I kind of reconnected with that. We've actually lost just a few pounds, not anything significant, but just by eating eating home cooked food. And by the way, we're still eating yummy stuff. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So that's definitely something that will, I think will stay in place. I will eat out, but not as much. I've been really examining, again, I think just taking it deeper into, again, the ideal clients. We have been, and I think this is just reinforced that message. We haven't lost one single client during this time. Not one. There hasn't even been one conversation on the table. And I think that that's, testimony, to the caliber of people that we work with, that are not, they're in it for the long term, right? And they're going to be vulnerable enough to say, like, I really need some guidance here right now because things have gone crazy, and not kind of like throw in the towel, at the very first thing that goes wrong. So for me, that has just really reinforced, like, working with the right people when we've kind of got this partnership model of like let's lock arms and kind of do this together. And I definitely want to spend a little bit more time, just exploring that and kind of, how can we do just more of that moving forwards? I think one of the other things that I probably want to be like kind of in the work that I'm putting out in the world, I've realized as well through COVID, is like helping people to think differently about things is so important, right? Kind of the emotional side of things, but like really thinking through things differently. And we've done that in a very condensed way in these last few weeks. So I think that's going to be something that I'm going to want to almost create, thinking tools, like tools that really help expand in somebody's mindset and clarify certain things. And then actually just one idea that I did share with my, Jane on the walk this morning, and I said, because we've just been that much more up close and personal with our clients during this time, even though, we haven't been meeting, which of course we normally do, and I can't wait till we get back in person and do our retreats and everything, but it's also reinforced the deeper personal work that we do with people. When it's not just all about business, it's about everything else that's kind of going on, and we work very holistically with people. And so that was a thought I shared with Jane on the walk this morning. I said, it's really reconnected me to the joy of working with people at a much deeper level. So yes, business is the outcome, but we do so much more than that. So I also want to think about, what does that look like, moving forwards, or where will I kind of, geek out on that aspect of my work?
Yeah. Well, and I love that. And, I know that we've talked a lot about this. And it is, I think I probably would love to tell you that initially I believe that personal was very different than business, and they operated in two individual silos, and that one did not overlap the other. I quickly realized they're in one silo together, running around like crazy people. And so if you've got to work on one for the other one to be successful. So it's kind of a team effort.
Totally. Right. Yeah. It's like we're actually one person. It's like we're working with the person, not this yet. Oh, that's my business life. And we're one person, one life.
Absolutely. Well, Vanessa, I am so appreciative of you being here today. Obviously, Kelly and I adore working with you, and you're just so wonderful, and you have helped us so much in our business. If someone is interested in talking with you, working out, they're sitting here at home listening to this going, I need a little bit of help. I need a little bit of guidance. I don't know what to do with my business. I think I'm just kind of at a plateau, or I need to pivot and I just don't know how to do that. How can they reach you? What's the best way? And we could put that in the comments so they can find it, but what's the best way to reach out to you or get a hold of you, or where should they start?
Yeah, totally. So I think a couple of things there, because we really, sincerely want to help small business owners. So again, if anything's resonating here, love to, chat further. One thing is to go directly to the website, vanessashaw.com. And there are several places to opt in for my book, The $1 Million Question. which is a really good place to get started. And it's a really good place to kind of start to think about what's not working and possibly what you're putting up with. And that's a process we take a lot of our clients through. Equally so, if you're already in that place of, oh my gosh, I would just love to get some guidance. I'm already 6-figure plus type business, would love to brainstorm some ideas. Send me an email directly to vanessa@vanessashaw.com. And then, we can tee up a call. I love brainstorming ideas with business owners and just helping them to get some clarity. And the reality is we do actually have a little bit more time than we had previously. As I said, I've got speaking gigs and sponsorships that aren't taking place and I'm not traveling. And so that is definitely something right now that we can offer up where previously, we couldn't be quite as generous with kind of the time.
Absolutely. And for those that don't know, Vanessa is down in Scottsdale, Arizona. Obviously, we're up here in Colorado. You have clients all over. I think you have a client in Chicago and, Maryland and all of these different places. And so just because you're not in Arizona does not mean they can't work with you.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, we work all over. And again, now we're connected in this virtual world as well, right? So it's
right. If COVID-19 has taught us nothing, it is that we can all work virtually with one another, and it does work. So
it totally does. Yeah, totally does.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here, Vanessa. We will put all that information, your email address and your website in the comments so people can click on it and check it out. But I just really appreciate it. And thanks for your guidance today.
Oh, no, you're welcome. And thank you, because I just think this, again, Steph, great initiative, right? To just be sharing information and valuable resources with people right now. If it just shifts somebody's thinking, then this is all for the better. So always a pleasure.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.